Assalamu alaikum. Today it is Tuesday, the 25th of May 2021, and we return to you with our series Reflections on the Holy Quran. And this is broadcast number 210 in that series. And today we will discuss two words of chapter 2, verse 86 of the Holy Quran. So this is part 1. Just to remind you that the Lahore Ahmadiyya community brings you these broadcasts, and it was created by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian. He taught us that although Muslims want to bring another prophet after the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Holy Quran says the Holy Prophet Muhammad was Khatamun Nabiyyin. And the Holy Prophet ﷺ himself explained that by saying that there will be no prophet after me. So no prophet can come after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, whether an old prophet or a new prophet. In the same way, he taught that Muslims are very keen to call each other heretics or kafirs. The smallest disagreement. That the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if a reciter of the kalima calls another reciter of the kalima a heretic, then it is the caller who is the heretic. So we should tolerate, even welcome difference of opinion and discuss them politely with each other. All those who recite the kalima are Muslims. And the Holy Prophet said that what takes you out of Islam is saying to your brother, you're not a Muslim. He also taught us that although some Muslims say Ayah Rajam is missing from the Holy Quran, or Surah Walayat is missing from the Holy Quran, all prophetic revelation that the angel Gabriel brought to the Holy Prophet Muhammad is in the Holy Quran. There is nothing missing or left out. Because God promises in the Holy Quran that I revealed it and I will protect it. So how could anything be left out? Some Muslims believe that verses of the Holy Quran have been abrogated or cancelled. Hazrat Shah Waliullah, who is regarded as the Mujaddid, as the reformer of his time, he says in his book that Muslims believe 512 verses of the Holy Quran are abrogated. How is that possible? And Hazrat Sahib then proved that no verse of the Holy Quran was, is, or ever shall be abrogated. Similarly, most Muslims think jihad means that you take the sword and you force some non-Muslim to recite the kalima, and if he doesn't, you cut his head off. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib Rahmatullah Alayh, he pointed out that when returning from a battle, the Holy Prophet said, we return from the minor jihad to the major jihad. We return from the minor jihad to the major jihad. And then he explained that major jihad is fighting your own inner evil desires, jealousy, anger, greed, and so on. This is a summary of some of Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib's teaching. Now, we are going to look at verse 86 of chapter 2 of the Holy Quran. And I had forgotten to take down the English translation. I only had the Urdu translation in front of me. It says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أولئك الذين اشتروا الحياة الدنيا بالآخرة فلا يخفف عنهم العذاب ولا هم ينقذون. These are the people who buy the life of this world in exchange for the hereafter. So their chastisement shall not be lightened, nor shall they be helped. So this is the two words we are going to look at today are the first two words, Ulaika Lazina, they're just sort of connecting words, those who. So the first word is Ashtara, and the next word is Dunya. So let's have a look at these two words, how they are derived and what they mean and what their true significance is. The first word, its root is Sheen Ra Ya, and it means to sell, or they sold, but it also means they bought. The same word is carried on in Farsi, the equivalent of the well-known English phrase, buyer beware, is Mushtari Hoshiar Bash. It means exactly the same thing, buyer. But the Holy Quran also uses it for selling. For example, in chapter 2, verse 102, it says they sold. And again, chapter 2, verse 207. Mai Yashri Nafsu, sells. But then in chapter 2, verse 16, for example, and they bought. And again, later on in chapter 2, earlier on in the chapter, chapter 2, we saw to barter in exchange for the words of God. They exchanged that for a small amount. So the point to remember is that this was in the days when you had the barter system. So you could have two situations. The first was that you want something and you have something which you can exchange for it. I'll carry on with the example I was using earlier on, and that is that you have 2 eggs, but you want an onion. So you take your 2 eggs to the market, looking for someone who wants eggs and who can give you an onion. But it may be that you come across a man who says, well, I have an onion. That's true. But what I want in return are tomatoes. So you say, okay. Then you go around looking for someone who can take your eggs and give you tomatoes. And then you exchange those and you go and say to the person with the onions, hey, you wanted 2 tomatoes? I've got them for you. And you hope that while you were away looking for someone with tomatoes, no one else has gone to him, given him tomatoes and taken your onions. So the system was complicated. And this is why currency was introduced. To make exchange easy. But the point that I'm trying to make is, this is why the Holy Quran uses the same word for buyer and seller, because a lot of the time, the same person could be the buyer and the seller. You know, like this example, we have the man who wants to exchange his eggs for an onion. He wants to sell his eggs and he wants to buy an onion. When you introduce currency, this doesn't happen. You say, I want an onion. How much is it? Oh, it's, £1. Well, here's a pound. Give me my onion. It's as simple as that. So as I said, the Holy Quran uses the word both for buyers and sellers, buying and selling. For example, the Holy Quran says, Inna Allah hashtara min al-mu'minin, chapter 9, verse 111. Now the same word is used here, but Allah has bought. And what has He bought? Yuqatiluna fi sabilillahi wa yaqtuluna wa yaqtulun. And this is why Khawarij used to call themselves Sharah, that they had sold their souls to please God, in line with the verse 207 of chapter 2, which says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَشْرِي نَفْسَهُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ. Is there someone who's ready to sell his life, to give his life to please Allah? So you can see that the Holy Quran, and this is the point about Arabic, that you need to justify the meaning of any word with reference to the Holy Quran. So you say, look, in this verse of the Holy Quran, it says this, like, Inna lazina yashtaruna bi ahdillah, chapter 3, verse 77. They sell God's word and take for a small price. They take. So, as I said, that this word is used to buy and sell. And in fact, how shall I explain this? The essence is that you give up your control over something. And, the Holy Quran uses the same word when it says that they leave the right path and adopt what is wrong. So, your control over the correct path to doing something as ordered by Allah, you give that up for the sake of what? For the wrong, whatever is the wrong thing. And this is really worth thinking about, because you see, we pay lip service to these things. We say, oh yes, God says He's bought our souls, and in return we'll get Jannah in the hereafter. But this is just lip service. You would have really sold your soul for paradise or heaven or the hereafter, whatever you want to call it, if you put that into practice. Speaking the truth pleases Allah. Giving true evidence pleases Allah. Being honest pleases Allah. So if there is a court of law and they're trying, I don't know, your brother or your son or your daughter or someone, and you know they're guilty, then you go and give true evidence. You speak the truth. It doesn't matter what their relationship is to you. Why? Because the Holy Quran says, when you give evidence, speak the truth. So you simply speak the truth. That is selling your soul for the sake of the hereafter. Next word I said we're going to look at is dunya, and that word has a triliteral root, dal, noon, wa, and it is found in the Holy Quran in 5 different shapes in 133 times. For example, 115 times it occurs as the word we are familiar with, dunya, the world. Then 12 times as adna, which means lower, defective. And then dana twice, and so on. Once as dan, and 3 times as daniyat. So the Holy Quran says in the verse we've already discussed, huwa adna billazi huwa khair. Something defective, something inferior but it also means near or appropriate. وَأَدْنَى, chapter 2, verse 282. Zalika adna, chapter 4, verse 3. What is better? What is more appropriate? Again, Zalika adna, chapter 5, verse 188. Nearer, closer. Arada hazal adna, chapter 7, verse 169. Lower kind, form, state of life. And then, of course, you have dunya, fil hayat dunya, ulaika allazina ishtaraw fil hayat dunya bil akhirati, chapter 2, verse 85, verse 86, which means the world, of this world. But it also, dunya is also used in the sense of nearness. For example, in, where is it, chapter 8, verse 42, it's used in the sense of nearer. And that is the most common use of this word. So, its basic meaning is, it signifies closeness. It could be personal closeness, like a relationship or something, or it could be closeness due to space, due to time, due to your status. A colonel is closer to a major than he is to a captain or a lieutenant. As far as time is concerned, the son is closer to the father than the grandson, and so on. And this is why it means lower, because lower means something closer to the ground. But as an adjective, it can also mean of lower quality, defective. And earlier on in Al-Baqarah, in chapter 61, in verse 61, it is used in this sense of defective. Huwa adna billazi huwa khayrun. They leave what is good, and instead they take, why do they take what is defective? So, but adna also means closer, as I said, because it means lower, closer to the earth. And it's used in the Holy Quran in all these senses. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ, chapter 2, verse 219. So reflect upon this world and the hereafter. Dunya. Why dunya is closer to you, and hereafter is further away. An interesting use is in chapter 33, verse 59, when it talks about when ladies go out, they should take a shawl or something and put it over them. The same word is used. Why? Because when they put this shawl or whatever it is over them, then it becomes very close to them. But there is an interesting thing that is worth remembering, that there are many religions in which this world is regarded somehow as a lowly place, as something you shouldn't struggle and strive for, because it's not worth doing. But let me ask you, do you think that the scientists who struggled to find a vaccine for COVID, they were struggling for this world? What do you think? They shouldn't have done that? Or do you admire them? They worked 18, 20 hours a day for a whole year, didn't take any break, didn't take any holiday. And there are many others, doctors and nurses and GPs and people who drive ambulances and all these services. They were struggling and striving for things of this world, people of this world. But Christianity would tell you that no, this is wrong. Adam and Eve, they were born in the Garden of Eden. Eve tempted Adam and they committed a sin. And for that they were expelled from heavens. They were going to have, the two of them, an everlasting life. They weren't going to die. But they were expelled, and the punishment was that after some time they would die. And a further punishment was that the human race could only continue by procreation, and women were going to suffer great pain in giving birth. Now, and what you need to do is, the only way you could get salvation was for someone to pay for all those sins, for this world. And you have this similar concept in Hinduism as well, that you have this circle. You're born in this life and you have to break this circle. Otherwise, you continue to be reborn in a higher life or a lower life and so on. And you need to continue to do good things in this life, because this life is a lower form of life, to attain that higher form. But this is not Islam. Unfortunately, these ideas have crept into Islam as well, that, to achieve nearness to God, you have to give up this world and so on and so forth. God says that the life in the hereafter is a continuation. This life, when it ends, so to speak, all that happens is that you cease to exist in one form, and your existence takes shape in a different form. But what you do in this life determines what will happen then. There is nothing wrong in struggling for good things in life, for wealth and so on. What is wrong is if you do it just to show off, and say, oh, look, I've got a Rolls Royce. I've got a big house. I've got this. I've got that. But if you do these things to benefit humanity, this is why I gave the example of people who work for to find a vaccine for the coronavirus. They're struggling for something in this world. But why are they doing it? They're doing it to benefit humanity, not for some personal gain. Let me give you another example. Hazrat Usman Razillah Ta'ala was a very rich person. In today's terms, you'd say he was a billionaire. And Muslims had difficulty with water. So he bought a well from which they could get water to drink. And the person, the owner, sold it to him at an extortionate price. And Hazrat Usman bought it. And then he gave it to the Muslim state. And he said, there you are. It's for you to use. Now, if Hazrat Usman hadn't struggled and strove to expand his business, and if he wasn't a billionaire, how would he help the community that was having that difficulty? So there's nothing wrong with becoming a successful businessman, because he used that for the benefit of the rest of the community. But if he bought that well and said, right now, okay, I can double my money, I can become even richer, then that would be wrong. You only earn brownie points, as they're called, if when faced with the temptation to do something wrong for your benefit, you choose to suffer harm, but do the right thing. That's the whole point about the life of this world. God says, give true evidence. Your son is in the dock. He has committed a murder. You are the only witness. Your son's life depends on you giving the wrong evidence, lying. You go into court, you put your hand on the Holy Quran. Say, speak the truth. I'll speak the truth. And then you proceed to lie. Now in that case, have you sold your soul for Allah's pleasure? Or have you sold your soul to the devil because you love your son so much? It is only by being tested by trials when we strive for betterment in this world that we are elevated in the hereafter. So there's nothing wrong with seeking and striving after things of this world, as long as you use them for the betterment of humanity. With that, I take my leave of you with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep all of you safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.